So when we start these things, I usually like to start off with a little bit of drawing. So here's some of our warm-ups for today. Let's see. Hopefully we're live on YouTube.
Not yet.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Now we are.
Oh, we are now?
Yes.
Cool.
It must have just been delayed by a second or so.
Very cool. Well, anyway, so like I was saying, good morning, everybody. And, let's start off with some drawing, get warmed up. So a lot of times we draw these ellipses. They're so hard to draw. Anyway, if you hold it, you know what I mean? It makes it like perfect, but that's not the point. It's the point. The point is just to get warmed up. And so something that I like to think about is this relationship. If you think about an ellipse, right? Yes, awesome. You have to have a short axis and a long axis, right? So this one's the long one, this one's shorter. And so the ellipse should fit, forgive the notes that I'm taking here. But anyway, it should fit right in this amount of space. There. Something like that, right? Anyway, what you can do for your sketching practice is draw a long axis, right? And then draw a short one. Make sure that they are perpendicular, like right angles. And then you can sketch your ellipse. Ugh. I always get it's painful, right? There's a bit of suffering whenever you do it. There's something nice about that, though. I think, right? There's something nice. Oh, so that's not parallel right there. It's like there's an angle there, obtuse and acute angles there. So you want to practice that. Practice getting the close to like a perpendicular as you can, and then sketch in. But it's a sketch, so you got to give yourself a little bit of grace, some understanding, but just try to get this fluid relationship down. Just don't worry about it too much, especially if you're sketching something, right? You're going to want to stay loose. Sometimes you're going to want to draw these geometrical shapes. Funny. But yeah, so keep on practicing them. Keep on working on it, gang. One of those things. Enjoy it, right? Enjoy this bit of the process. Well, I do. I like the, I like the torment of it. Oh my God. I guess don't worry about it overlapping. That was what I was like, I was worried about it over there, right? But yeah, eventually, you can take the training wheels off, as it were, and then you can just have a beautiful elliptical shape that you draw, right? And hopefully, hopefully you have a good time. Yeah, good morning, Jason. So great to see you in the chat. If this is working for you, let us know that it's working, where you're at, and then also you can, let us know where you're beaming in from. That's awesome. Right. So, good morning, Amber. So great to see you.
Good morning, James.
I'm gonna run through these announcements and stuff, the obligatory announcements that we do. So thank you so much for hanging in there with us, everybody. Right. And welcome to Guy Atchison's Reinventing the Tattoo community. where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are all encouraged to join in these live stream and real world events. If this is working for you again, let us know. Tag somebody who's interested in tattoos. That's always very cool. You can leave your positive feedback in the comments. Also, like and subscribe, because that really helps us out. Encourages us to keep going, right? We beam out nearly every single day, and with your help, we've become a quality network of live and on-demand tattoo and art-related shows and content. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo at these places: the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store. There it is, the app, right? You can get the app, get you right into the reinventing community. Very cool. We also have a YouTube page, a Facebook page, or YouTube channel, Facebook page, Roku. You can find us a lot of different places. There's also a podcast, and you can find us on all the major podcast directories, including Apple and Spotify. But just remember, you can always find the latest and greatest at reinventingthetattoo.com. Yeah, I'd like to plug real quick. There's courses here. That's why you come, right? There's all kinds of educational stuff here. That's what this is about. This is about education. And so, just click on this courses link right here, and you can find all different kinds of offerings. And you can also ask Guy questions, and he actually responds to you. You know what I mean? It's very cool. So, so of course, check this out. And if you're interested in any of the offerings, be sure to become a member. Cool. So we could certainly talk about some of the upcoming shows and stuff. So on Sundays, here on Reinventing at 1 p.m. we have Skill Building Sundays, hosted by Jason Leeser. That's followed at Mondays, 9 a.m. Eastern, Drawing for Tattooers. That's this show, and you've made it, so thank you for coming. Also on Mondays at 11 a.m. we have the Tattoo Now show. That's followed at 9 p.m. Oh, sorry, don't forget Robbie's show, Let's Talk About Feelings, Robbie Ripple, at 5 p.m. Eastern on Mondays. Make sure to check that out. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern on Mondays, we have the subscribers exclusive drawing group. On Thursdays, we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast hosted by Fawn Baker. And there's all kinds of other programs that do come up from time to time. So make sure to check out the schedule for more. And now we'd really like to thank our sponsors. So beginning with the World Tattoo Events, worldtattooevents.com. It's the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. Lots of updates as conventions are rescheduling like crazy. And so to find out what's happening in your neck of the woods, be sure to check out worldtattooevents.com. Tattoo Now. Tattoo Now is technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development management and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. There are CRM and mailing list software. So you can check it out and certainly ask for Gabe. He'll get you all hooked up. And of course, we'd like to thank Guy Atchison for being the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. You can learn more about Guy Atchison by visiting guyatchison.com, where you can find paintings, custom prints, tattoo machines, as well as learn about Guy's story of being a painter and his journey through the tattoo world. A couple of events I'd like to plug. The High Lifestyle Show. That's this week in Boxborough, Massachusetts. So if you're going to be in the Boxborough, Massachusetts area, be sure to check out the High Lifestyle Show. Got to be over 21. So, but it's going to be a really fun show, and there's going to be tattoos. I'm going to be there. Fawn Baker will be there. So come see us, come get a tattoo. That would be awesome. the Paradise Tattoo Gathering. Paradise Tattoo Gathering is happening again, everybody. So if you're gonna be there, come by and say hey. There's going to be lots and lots of fantastic events, seminars, and then also tattooing and stuff going on all week. Look at this. What is going on here?
We're doing a black and gray seminar specifically on the techniques of non-portrait black and gray.
Superstition.
So that's about learning how to have effective texture control,
So cool.
effective tone control.
Come check this out. It's really going to be a blast. One last little thing I want to check out with y'all is the Alliance of Professional Tattooists, the APT. You can learn more about the APT at savetattoos.com. If you are a professional tattooer, you should really consider joining. And then also, there's all kinds of new things that are on the horizon for the tattoo industry, especially in the United States. So the APT is leading the way. It's an organization that has tattooists' best interests at heart. So consider joining. Yeah, and with that, good morning, everybody. We've got Amber. We've got Spirit. How you guys doing?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Oh, sweet. Morning, Amber and James.
Morning. How's everybody's week?
So far, so good.
Excellent.
Things have been crazy, so I'm happy for a nice calm day.
Excellent.
That's right.
Things do get crazy from time to time, and I guess like we were just saying earlier, right? We're trying to draw those warm-up exercises. There's something about the crazy that we can enjoy. Maybe there's something about it that's actually exciting, and that anxiety we feel is that energy. Could you say that one more time? I don't think it came through.
All creation is born of chaos made simple. So without the crazy and the chaos, there's no inspiration or creation.
That's right. Spirit.
Yo.
That tattoo go the other day. You shared a tattoo with us, and I thought it was just stunning, spectacular.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. You talking about the birds?
Mm-hmm. The birds and the flowers, and it looked really beautiful. And
oh, thank you very much. So I didn't what you saw the video.
Mm-hmm.
That was where we left off for the evening. I didn't get a chance to really go into the flower that you. I just gray lined it, but it came out dope. Let me see if I can. If I could, I wonder if you could bring it up on the text.
I'm sure that I can. Talk amongst yourselves while I work on this this bit of tech. So
cool. So what's up, Amber? How you been?
I'm good. Making
You still
basically.
Mm-hmm. Are you still working on your apprenticeship, or what's going on with that?
My mentor and I parted ways.
Yeah, I remember. So are you kind of doing anything in the interim?
Yes, I do have a couple professional tattoo artists still teaching me, but not in a professional apprenticeship sense.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, that's my third apprenticeship in the last 25 years. And I'm a tattooer. So I'm looking for more of like a junior tattoo artist working apprenticeship position. Rest of my 1,000 hours in.
So you guys have to have 1,000 hours too.
2,000.
Y'all gotta have 2,000?
2,000 hours.
So is it 2,000 hours of like apprenticeship, or is it 2,000 hours of like tattooing?
The way it kind of works in New Jersey is your apprenticeship takes at least a year because you got to put in the 2,000 hours. And part of the year is spent, in your curriculum learning to tattoo. And then you start tattooing. So you'd become a working apprentice.
Okay. Okay. Oh, all right. Well, yeah, I could see that's it's one of the, it seems like it's a long time, but time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, Carol Ann Evans, who is part of the APT, the Alliance of Professional Tattooists. She's in New Jersey. She talks about this all the time, that there's a real disparity, specifically in New Jersey, with how many hours that cosmetic tattooists have to receive in order to get like a certification versus what's termed as the decorative tattooist, everybody else, if you will. And it doesn't seem equitable, so this makes me think about, like, I'm just talking about the High Lifestyle Show. It's in Massachusetts, and I'm taking a course right now on anatomy and physiology. I have to get a certification that I've taken this course in order to be able to tattoo there. So every single place, every single county in every single state is different.
Yeah.
There's a patchwork of difference that you have to navigate if you want to apply your trade and your craft, depending on where you want to be. And so it's challenging to know where to go, how to do these things.
My other idea is I've been researching grants for single women of a higher age looking to start a business, and I'll just open my own tattoo shop, hire a couple really good tattoo artists, and get them to teach me how to tattoo.
Hell yeah!
I mean,
that's been done too.
Teach me how to tattoo.
Right.
And then I can get my 2,000 hours in and sell the business, because I really don't want to own a tattoo shop. I just want to be in somebody's shop and do my thing.
I'd work for you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
That's the thing, though. I'd probably have to start my 2,000 hours or whatever if I were to go there. I'd have to figure out how to get that. I know. It's like it's very difficult, and I know Creatures talked about that a lot. Creatures had all sorts of obstacles.
Morgan, isn't she?
With her shop. So, I think there's so everybody has, something that they have to.
Yeah, I believe in Oregon, you have to go to tattoo school that you pay for yourself and then get an.
Wow.
Well, yeah, it is a patchwork of various sorts of like obstacles to overcome. Well, I hope you all can see my screen.
Yes.
Here is this tattoo that Spirit did. We were talking about it earlier.
It's very nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Thanks, guys.
And I can certainly see some of that that neo-traditional flavor you were talking about, especially like in the bird. Yeah. The bird. Anyway, so that, back there in the the upper left, that's that gray lined flower you were talking about. And so I think that is was probably like a really wise choice, just to sort of start with. You may end up like, you could always add some more outline to it if you decide that that's going to be necessary or whatever. But you could also allow it to be sort of soft and fall back. And so I think that was really like that was a really smart sort of way to go. Give yourself, some space, you know what I mean? So
absolutely, because when I sent it, in the group, I was just saying, I was just like, that flower was just bothering me. It was just bigger than the other bird, like you said, and just making it smaller, it did definitely do the trick. I just didn't want it to overpower the birds, and I didn't really even know that this bird would be darker than the other. But once I started doing it, I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. So because it'll provide a nice kind of contrast between the two birds.
yeah, excellent. Yeah, so then there's a rhythm, you know what I mean, to the different sizes. There's a rhythm to the different levels of value that you're using. And so and there's a nice flow. There's a lot of flow that's happening.
That upper bird is darker than the other one really lends itself to the fact that that branch the darker one is on is back further than the other branch, and it lends depth.
Yeah, that's what's up. I didn't think about that.
Well,
but yeah, I've really been trying to work on my saturation like that. Like if I would have, the things that I learned recently, that blackbird would probably not look like that. It just took like maybe 5-6 hours to just do that one bird. Like before, it would have taken me like an hour and a half, 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? But now, it just, I'm just sitting there, just going back and forth with my mag, just doing layering and just building up those layers, just pushing those grains of sand.
I like that metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Kyle, right? Is that a Kyle Olsen-ism?
No, but we just kind of came up with it together, though. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Like it's, we were talking about it, and I was like, is it kind of like pushing sand? And he was like, that's exactly what it is. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, we definitely came up with it together. Absolutely.
Well, it reminds me of that old legend, right? There was that guy named Sisyphus, and he rolls the rock up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Have you ever heard this? He rolls the rock up the hill. When he gets to the top, what happens?
It falls back down.
The rock rolls back down. So he's got to do it again. And so I like this. I like that notion. Like, it's that he's happy doing that. Right? He's enjoying that. It's a sort of a suffering in it. This sort of, it's this labor you have to continue to do, but you find an enjoyment, and this is what I do. So like you say,
art is suffering. So
yeah,
there's definitely a lot of suffering in art. That's true, Amber.
Well, this, I actually, very recently, a client of mine, very cool dude. He's like a theologian, and he's also has a lot of experience, like with, comparative religions. And so he finds Buddhism very interesting. And so he mentions that, like, within Buddhism, that desire is the root of suffering, right? So because you desire stuff, that you suffer, and so the idea is, like, you get rid of desire and then you don't suffer, and this sort of a thing. And so part of
religion has a very similar core.
One more time, say that again.
The Taoist religion has a very similar core to it. That, desire is the root of suffering.
I think that I don't disagree with this. And so a part of what I was hoping that we could talk about today, but, is psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis doesn't disagree with this idea either. But where it does depart is this notion that we actually do want to desire, like we desire to desire. And so in a way, we want this suffering. That's a part of it. It sounds crazy, but it's our unconscious sort of drive that we actually really want to continue to want stuff, right? And this makes, I think it's illustrated in the fact that my client was there sitting in the chair desiring to get a tattoo and going through the suffering of getting it. It's like, so I think it just makes sense, right? It just makes sense in a certain way. And so what I wanted to touch on, and what I had shared with all of you last week, was an article. We'll link it to the description. Let me see. I think I'll show the article. One more time.
While we're waiting,
yeah.
I'd like to just say that I think that, like, I've kind of had some experiences with that lately. Is just the, kind of surrendering to the way that my artwork is going to look, as opposed to kind of trying to force it. But that there is a desire in there to have it look a certain way. So it is a balance. I've been kind of trying to figure that out. I don't know if I ever really will, but it's a dance. It's a dance.
Mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, so this is the article that I shared with everybody. We'll put a link at the description. Dr. Karologian. That's my best. It's my best attempt. I may be butchering the good doctor's name, but very fascinating sort of insight into the tattooing practice. It seems like to me that in many ways, this doctor may not have any tattoos. I'm just speculating here, but she talks about her experience with some of her patients. So she's a practicing psychoanalyst, and so her patients get tattoos. And she has, so she has really done some research. So I wanted to sort of share this researcher's research with you all. And certainly, like, this is geared probably more towards psychoanalysts and towards therapists and this, this crowd. But as tattoo artists, or as tattooers, I think that there's a lot of things that kind of ring, familiar with some of these insights. And so it'd be good if we also know about some of these ideas. So what I did was I picked a few sort of passages to go over, and I was hoping that we could all, chat about them. And so certainly if there's anything that's interesting, feel free to stop me, or also, I'd love to talk about stuff. I mean, there's some things that I can't claim expertise in all these areas. However, there might be some stuff that we could find fruitful in a discussion. So anyway, in the article that we're talking about, there's this doctor has a patient who, ends up seeking tattoos in order to feel better, right, in a way. And so
Therapy.
Right, tattoos as therapy. What I've always been resistant to this. But I think that I think the reason is because it always seemed like there was this conscious choice on people's part. Like they wanted to come and get this thing, and they wanted it to be a specific image or whatever they want consciously. But what this article really explores is the idea that there are unconscious motivations at work in the decision to even get a tattoo in the first place. And it's difficult to understand, you know what I mean? But it's also, I think it's very fascinating, right? So, I'll start with this first passage, and we'll see what we think about it. So Dr. Karologian says, the manipulation of one's own skin through tattooing represents at an early level an attempt to experience a holding and circumscribing object in a very concrete way. In doing so, tattooing shifts an unbearable affect into the painful injuring of one's own body, so making it bearable. What are we talking about here? Well, it's like there's a lot of different reasons why people might decide to get a tattoo. But I know often people get them at times when they are feeling a crisis, if that makes sense. Sometimes someone has died, right? And they are sort of processing that loss. They get a tribute tattoo or something like this. And so there's a certain way that like hurting your own body somehow makes you feel a little bit better. And,
I completely understand that.
Yeah, I'm so glad, that you say that, Amber. What do you
Tattooing myself.
Mm.
And I joke that I'm a tattooer, not a cutter. People have the compulsion to cut themselves when they're upset to feel better. It's the same premise as getting a tattoo. It gives you that release of that chemical that's building up, that's giving you the anxiety and the depression.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I've tattooed a few cutters that say the same thing. Well, they used to cut, but now they can afford to get tattoos, so they get tattoos over their cuts, and that I guess they're now their new thing.
They get the same relief and the same sensation as they did when they cut, but now something beautiful comes from it.
Yes,
Like,
I think that's exactly the point, that there's something magical about this, image that sort of emerges out of the process. So here's what we can say. Like, certainly there have been cultural practices of scarification and contemporary scarification, body modification in that realm. Some of this is, I think extraordinarily beautiful. I really do. And then, a lot of times it seems to boil down to patterns and stuff. Now, if someone out of sheer, like in despair is trying to hurt themselves, that is a totally different way of going about things. But under the, like with a practitioner, tattoo artist in this case, who was going to apply a tattoo in a safe way, of course, with consent and all the rest, this is again, this sort of substitution, in this terminology, a transitional object that helps us, to sort of like mediate whatever it is that is unbearable, right? It's like unbearable. It's your suffering. Yes. This is a different kind of suffering that becomes a new way to go about it. So I think, the next passage goes on, once the injured skin has healed, the tattoo is tacitly and sensorially integrated into the body. So reference to Freud here, reflections on the physical rootedness of the ego, sees the skin as the fragile border of the self. By injecting color, we're going to like strike through injecting. That is not the term that tattooers use, right? But certainly like, depositing might be, we deposit the color, we deposit the ink. Into the skin, it's associated with pain. The tattoo artificially causes dermatitis, which must heal over a period of several days or weeks before the finished image is created. During this period, the injured skin must be cared for, anointed, and specially treated. At this level, the process to represent an early deficiency and to make up for it through one's own activity, and on the other hand, could be seen as an attempt to concretely repair the body image. Right. I mean, that's interesting. It's like you hurt yourself and then, like you have a motivation to take care of yourself after that.
Yeah.
You gotta take care of that tattoo. Otherwise, it's not going to heal well. And then it's not going to look right. Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
There's a real motivation. You have to care about yourself and your body again. And so
yeah, and that's something most people don't do is self-care in any way. So this forces you to give yourself a little bit of self-care.
Some people don't take care of their tattoos. I'm not gonna, it's like we can't say that always is this way. It's not a like universally concrete. It absolutely happens this way, but we all must. If you get a tattoo, you do have to take care of it, whether you choose to do that or not. But this is an opportunity, let's say, and that's maybe a big part of the therapeutic part of this idea. It's okay. So what is this show? We're drawing for tattooers. What are we talking about? Well, we're I think that like there's something important here, right? If you're interested in tattoos, there's something here, I think. And additionally, if you do them, you're gonna run into customers who are, they're searching for something, right? They're trying to find something out about themselves. And so I think it's again, there are many reasons why people get tattoos. So this is not to say that this is exactly some sort of blueprint, or this is specific to every single individual's experience. However, if you're doing tattoos, and you sort of run into these instances, it might very well be something that you feel, something that sounds familiar to you. And so, yeah, this idea that, so the doctor says dermatitis, right? That there's a sort of injury that happens on the skin surface, like your skin represents this limit to your inner self, right? There's what you feel like is you on the inside, and it's like the limit of that is like the surface of your skin. Again, you end up having this wound, this sort of illness that like manifests itself. Again, if you have this unconscious sort of feeling that doesn't, it's not visible all the time, right? Like whatever it is that's bothering you may not be visible. This becomes a way to make that visible, and then you can care for it. And it might be a way to accept, and it might be a way to sort of, end up coming to terms with certain experiences, certain ways of certain things that you have, you have to deal with, because we all,
working through vulnerabilities.
Could you expand on that a little bit for us? What do you think?
If you get a tattoo that means something to you, it's obviously an expression of part of your personality and part of your experiences. And say it's something that, or a loved one that's passed away and you haven't dealt with your vulnerability over that grief. You get the tattoo that represents them and you take care of that tattoo. You feel like you're taking care of yourself and your vulnerabilities. Because it's manifest on your skin, it's easier for you to take care of it than it is when it's inside and you can't see it.
That is so. So you're saying that this thing that I'm going, okay, so it's like it makes it real. It makes it like it brings it into reality.
Yeah, it makes it a tangible thing you can see when you look at yourself.
That is fascinating. Say that again.
Except that the scar is beautiful rather than, just a mangled mess of flesh.
Mm-hmm. That is, what's interesting, because I was talking to a therapist about that, and that kind of reminds me of, it's like one of the ways to dislodge a memory that bothers you is to turn it into art, is to, right? And what one of the things that does is, she was saying that the long-term memory is back here in the brain, and then
Mm,
short-term memory is up here. So when you turn something into art, it brings it up here, and then you can forget it.
yeah.
It brings a long-term memory into short-term memory, and then you can forget it. You know, so yeah, so what you're saying, like, that makes so much sense to me.
That you can let things go finally. It's almost like digestion, right? You're kind of, you're all backed up with these things you can't get rid of.
The process of the art
Right.
is the digestion of the idea or the memory.
Mm.
So interesting. Oh, hey, Creature's Cave. Good morning, Creature. Probably heard us talking about you earlier. All good things, of course. So, but feel free to join us. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a phone call. It just sort of just showed up on the, on the live stream. But I think it was does anybody else get scam calls too? Is that just me? Maybe it's
Oh
just me.
yeah, no, it's not just you. Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
hate that.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah.
But it's, it's nice somebody's thinking about you, right? Like
Yeah,
at least
but don't
somebody.
nobody call my phone but my wife and them spam collectors.
Every once in a while, if I'm bored, I'll answer. And then like start talking like a 4-year-old, or I'll start talking really dirty to them and they'll hang up.
I like it.
Gotta cause a little trouble once in a while.
Got to do it. You're right. That's right.
Yeah, get into trouble sometimes. I think uh that's what we're talking about too. I think on a conscious level, right? Well, for me, I don't feel I don't feel like I'm a perfect person. I don't feel like I'm complete, and I desire stuff, right? I lack. There's things that I lack, and so I want. You know what I mean? I desire things. I believe that others feel this too. That's that's what I believe.
Yes.
And so on a
Could you say
conscious,
that's the last sentence again?
well, that
You believe that you lack something?
I lack things. There are things I don't. There are things I don't have. There's things you don't have. There's
Yeah.
things that you recognize it. I don't have this. I don't have that. And because you don't have everything, like you had everything. If everything was perfect, right? You wouldn't want for anything at all, and it would essentially be nothingness, right? It would be nothing. So on a conscious level, you feel like you want to have this sense of completion. You want things to be all smooth all the time. But like we were talking about earlier, unconsciously, you actually want to want things. You want to keep on wanting things. That's a drive that you have. So we sabotage stuff, right? In order to keep things going. This makes sense when you think about procrastination, for example, right? Like, why would you procrastinate anything ever? Because you feel anxiety because of your proximity to getting something's almost done, or something's like way too far from being done. It's the same kind of, this is the same sort of like path that we're talking about with going through this tattooing, right? There's a certain amount of, again, just this desire to want something, and so what I find interesting, I know that it's true for me, and maybe you can relate. I know certainly with clients, I'll observe this. When I'm getting a tattoo, a lot of times I'm thinking about the next tattoo.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever felt that way before, but I certainly hear it in the chair all the time. I'm doing a tattoo, and the customer says, I'm going to get this next. You know,
Yeah,
what is that
yeah.
about? You
I'll
know,
get that
Mhm.
makes you see all the places you don't have a tattoo yet.
that you lack your tattooing, right? You don't have it. You don't have this tattoo there. And even if you had everything tattooed, it's not tattooed twice. You know, you gotta do it again. It's not tattooed four
Right.
times. I gotta do it again. So on and so forth.
I don't even have my legs covered yet, but I already know what I'm going to use as filler once they are.
This is something else that Dr. Karologian talks about, that oftentimes, or it can be that you actually, you know, think about getting getting the tattoo before the notion of what the image is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You actually are
Mhm.
considering what it is, you know, that you want this object. You don't even know what it is yet. It hasn't even crystallized in your mind that, you know, this is what you're going to do, for instance. So I think that is these are things that might be intuitive, or that we sort of see it in ourselves or see it in our clients, but to see to see it sort of analyzed in this way, I think it's confirmational. Like, it helps you confirm, like, yeah, this I know, and this might be important insofar as what it is that, what it is that we're doing here. But again, there's no, like, this is not easy stuff. And it's not easy stuff. And
Mhm.
we're not gonna know, I don't think, because, right, like, we're not gonna know because our clients don't know either, right? And nobody knows it all, right? There's always going to be everybody's in the same situation, like, in a certain way of looking at it. So let's see here. I want to move to a new section that I think might be sort of interesting, and maybe spark some more conversation. So from another piece of Dr. Karologian's work, she talks about the picture portrayed by the tattoo is a component in the stage of ideographic representation. One might conceive of tattoos as dream images projected onto a screen. The skin, so especially in the conjugation of Winnicott's notions of potential space, don't worry about that. Tattoos function as dream image patches to be applied to the surface of a balloon to prevent air from escaping. So symbol formations as an activity of the ego attempting to deal with anxieties stirred by relation to the object. That is primarily fear of bad objects and the fear of loss or inaccessibility of good objects. What that sort of means, what I want to try to paraphrase or try to synthesize out of that, is that, again, we talk about that lack, you feel like there's something missing. Tattoo, in a way, symbolically sort of covers that over, right? Just like if you think about a hot air balloon that's like losing air, you put a patch over a tire, whatever. It's like you put a patch over it that helps to stabilize, right? So there's an idea that we have an ideal sense of ourselves, an ego, right? But there's also an ego ideal. There's also like this ideal sense of what one is supposed to be. One is the one that you think about yourself, and then the other one is the thing that you perceive that the world is telling you, right? So when you look in the mirror, right, you see yourself reflected back, and there's a certain way that you think that you are. There's a way that you present yourself, and there's a way that you again, that you probably sort of think, well, I need to do this and I need to do that, right? But that's kind of informed by the way you think that society wants you to be, or whatever you give value to, whatever it is that you give value to. Maybe you're sort of you're into subculture like tattoos or something. You know, you're like, I really need more tattoos so I can fit in better or whatever. But it's funny, it's like you want to fit in, but it's also this self-expression. But it's, again, it's so fascinating as far as like, how does this work? And I think what this is trying to say is that we're trying to sort of mediate between, having, feeling like this sense of like loss, abandonment, things that are, things that could get taken away, versus things that are too close, things that are, that like your responsibilities you have, things that the things that you actually have to do, the things that are putting pressure and weight on you specifically, right? Things that you wish you could have versus things that you are like burdened with, right? There's a certain tension that all that stuff, it just puts on you. And so the sense of who you are, again, is sort of informed by what you believe the world to be. And it's very difficult. Again, like a hot air balloon, right? It's sort of, there's a pressure inside versus like whatever the pressure is on the outside, right? And it's that relationship that will cause it to rise and fall, but has to be there has to be a surface there that, that's able to retain all of the tension, all of the pressures and stuff. And that's essentially, that's what this is saying, is that the tattoo serves that function, at least, so there's a symbolic, right, for you, right, and for others, right, but then there's also an imaginary way, right? For you, it feels like it's doing this thing. It actually does things for others, right? They read your tattoos, they see them, right? And then also for you, it does the thing as well. So there's an interesting kind of game, if you like, right? It's kind of a game.
Yeah.
Played. And what's real is, the things that actually, that actually take place there, how you're actually treated, how you actually behave, comport yourself in the world, so on and so forth. Creature's joining us. Creature's here, everybody. Yeah. Well, Creature's connecting to audio. Creature, good morning. It's so great to have you.
Good morning, everybody.
To hop in.
Everybody can hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm sorry. I overslept. I was up tattooing all night and it went really well. Thank you. Kind of slept in, forgot to set my alarm. Good morning. This is a fantastic conversation. What book are we reading and what's going on?
So we're actually talking about, this is the research of a practicing analyst, and she has experience with patients of hers who receive tattoos while they're undergoing analysis, while they're undergoing treatment. And so,
I love that.
Yeah, so from these experiences, she's done this research, and then also relates, because there's a long history of research into tattooing. It's fascinated researchers for a long time. And so there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of context that we can give here. But what I found interesting is just simply this, the parallels that seem to sort of emerge. I'm reading this stuff and I'm thinking about, like, I'm doing tattoos all day, and it's like, I'm seeing these sort of things recur, right? Amongst all, almost everybody. In certain ways, there are these things that keep recurring. They take different forms, but there's something, there's some sort of structure that seems to be there. And That's what's interesting, because it's also, this is, getting a tattoo, as everybody knows, hurts, right? There's always going to be some pain. And even if you get totally anesthetized from it, you're still going to have pain afterwards. You can't escape it. You know what I mean? It may be too much in the moment. Like, I wouldn't want to get, like, my teeth yanked out without some anesthesia. So I like the sensation of getting tattooed as well, even when it's intense. And of course, when you're in it, you're like, oh, why am I doing this? Everybody's
I take cold showers every day. So
yeah, I used to do that too.
It's good for you.
I go from
just to kind
boiling
of
hot to ice cold every single day because, well, it helps. When I tuned in to the conversation, you guys were some of the things being talked about, like a tattoo. The lady said in the book it was like a Band-Aid on a balloon.
Right.
That part right there, I thought that was fascinating. And what brought me to jump on was a reoccurring theme, the script. Everybody gets script. We all know this. It's not my favorite. I don't think people should treat themselves like notebooks. But with what you just read, that kind of changed my mind, to be honest. I never understood why people got names of their kids and things on them. I mean, that's just me. I mean, I do them, but now I understand why. So I tuned in to say thank you for that.
Thank you for that. Thank you for saying that. I think this is exactly why, I wanted to talk about this, because, again, there's a collaboration between the client getting tattooed and you as the tattooer. And sometimes it can feel really alienating, like, why am I doing this? This isn't my style, or this isn't you know what I mean? Again, if if this is something, you absolutely disagree with doing, you shouldn't, you have to remain sort of loyal to your aesthetic sensibilities. You have to remain loyal to your, the things that you value and stuff. But even, it's a spectrum, right? And there's going to be stuff that you're going to be asked to do. You're like, well, this isn't exactly what I do, but I got to do it. You know what I mean? That's life. And so, again, there's so many reasons why people choose the things they choose. I believe what we're trying to say is like that you can't always know. And even if they give you a reason, it still isn't the reason. They get their kid's name, right? Like you say. It's like they don't even know why they're getting their kid's name. You don't know, and they don't really know either. Not all the way. There's a lot of conscious reasons, but then there are these unconscious ones, and that's a part of what we're delving into today, as we're trying to think about, like, we're drawing conclusions. We're drawing speculative maps about what it is for tattooers. Right, drawing for tattooers in this way.
Well, along with this book, Fawn last week on Tattooing 101 recommended Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain.
I love that book.
I do as well now. I've consumed a portion of it. I consume books. I like books.
What did you get out of it?
Right-brained. So that book was.
I'm sorry, Amber.
Said I'm a lefty, so I'm already right-brained naturally. So that book was very interesting.
Absolutely, I could definitely see how a left-brain person would love this. Sorry, my dog is distracting me. He's pooping on my driveway. Why do they poop on your driveway? Anyway, okay, so Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, basically, Betty Edwards talks about how the left and the right both have their different compartmentalized functions and how they work in unison, but the school system doesn't really teach the right side of the brain, which is more creativity and things like that. Left side being the plan, the logic, the forward. I got to do this, and this.
Need
But
right brain people to work in their factories. They need left brain people.
exactly. So she did a study. There's a whole bunch to it. I could take over an entire class with this. But nonetheless, she showed that anybody can draw, and all they have to do is tap into the right side. The book is full of different exercises that allows a person to do that. The more you progress through the book, the better it gets. You start off with drawing some things upside down, so the brain doesn't know how to label them, if you will. And by the end, you're doing cutaways and things like that. It's more like sculpting on paper, really, because you lay the ground down and then you erase and then draw the image out of that. But it's, I don't know, exercises for the right side of the brain, which causes the person to think, I don't know, more clearly. It gives a deeper insight in the day-to-day life. It's a fantastic book, and I'm glad Fawn read it. And that's what I did this weekend. Anyway.
Nice.
Man.
No, I love that. And I love ideas. I think that I think that that is so valuable, right? For us to, to bring our ideas together and to discuss them, especially as it relates to the thing that we love and that we do all the time. So
yeah, I didn't mean to end up giving a book review over the thing, but
no, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. That's exactly what I am hoping to spark, right? That again, we want to, be very, mathematical, technical. I mean, these are things that you do need, right?
Yeah.
You got to do your budget. You got to pay your taxes. I mean, like it or not, right? You have to negotiate prices on stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of ways, that you can think about how, how important it is to be analytical. However, being creative is such a challenging activity. Why? Because it entails some level of destruction. It entails, like Amber was saying earlier, it does entail some level of, there's a sort of a chaos at a certain point. At the end, it's, what we might sort of deem as successful creativity might appear to have some sort of design or pattern to it in some way. Like there's a sort of resolution that starts to emerge out of all of that troubledness, if you like.
Even destruction can be beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course.
Have you ever had the uncontrollable urge to throw something through an old window?
Yeah.
Just because I was looking at you wrong.
And the satisfaction of watching that shatter pattern and hearing that crack, even that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
From her explanation, you've never done that before, right? No.
I wouldn't do that.
Right her on the side. I can tell.
Don't throw rocks through windows, people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's bad.
I think this is very similar to our earlier conversation when we were discussing the differences between somebody getting a tattoo versus like their destructive cutting of their body, right? Where we're not advocating anything, like self-harm, except for within the sort of the context of a, let's say almost shamanistic kind of practitioner, right? It's going to help you engage in this like in a controlled setting with consent and with with the best sorts of technology possible
by a professional.
Absolutely. And this is what analysis, I think, is also trying to do, is trying to help you sort of, you could say deconstruct, but but knock down some of the conventions that you have built up. Throwing the rock through the window, I mean, putting a tattoo on your pristine skin. You know what I mean? It's or not, or not like pristine. There's a whole sort of spectrum there, I believe. That's kind of, again, gets to this idea like we're not going to know because there isn't, because no, and that is at the core of it, the unknowing that is like, that's the universal bit, right? Not that it just can't, not that we can't just know it, but it's, it's always sort of like moving into these deeper contradictions, for instance, right? You can get to a resolution, but that stage only leads to more contradictions, to more questions, right? You can answer your questions and you can get to that next sort of level of, of knowing, but then you're going to find that there's there's a new set of questions, there's a new set of mysteries. And that is, I think, knowing that can be really helpful, right? Why do we get tattoos? Well, there's a lot. It is a big question. So let me read this last little bit. It's a little long, but I think that I really like this last passage, and then we can chop it up a little bit. So, what we can safely ascertain is that tattooing constitutes an unconscious visual projection of the situation present in the analytic process, expressing in the transference crucial internal conflicts. In Walter Benjamin's word, quote, image is that wherein what has been comes together in a flash with the now to form a constellation, unquote. The tattoo is something of a dialectic snapshot of the state of maternal and paternal relationships, desires for intimacy and distance, commonality and difference, identification and individuation. In Dialectics at a Standstill, as Benjamin so famously describes the dynamics of an image, what appears most significant for the visual image of the tattoo is the need for stasis and immutability. As if the standstill produces a degree of stability, this inner stability is threatened by the unconscious fear of potential violation of a taboo, which renders abandonment and fusion anxieties unbearable. Tattooing thus represents a marginally successful attempt to create a transitional object by conjoining the actual manipulation of the skin with the symbolic creation of an image. The effort is akin to patching up holes in a transitional space and the attempt to reconstruct it. So even though the primary distinguishing characteristic of the tattoo rests in the conscious awareness of its function as an expression of individuality, we also have seen simultaneously it strives to bring about the exact opposite. That is, to enlist the visual image as a way of establishing identification in emulation of the relation to the targeted objects. It is a veiled expression of individuality in the form of a fashion statement. This invites us to cautiously speculate about whether the popularity of tattooing results from the fact that it is fashionable, or whether it is fashionable precisely because it is often the manifestation of a psychodynamic constellation. Right. So I know that was a lot, but I think what we can get, I would like to repeat one bit, and that's what Walter Benjamin said, right? That image is that wherein what has been comes together in a flash with the now to form a constellation. We are trying to represent these experiences, right? And then and an image is what we project out there, what it is that what we see when we look at things is a part of the constellation that is formed through, you know, your experience and your relationship to, right, yourself and to others. And so even though the characteristic of the tattoo rests in the conscious awareness of its function as an expression of individuality, we have also seen it simultaneously strives to bring about the exact opposite. That's interesting. Right?
I like that.
We get tattoos to be a part of an in-group, but also to exclude others. That sounds crazy, right? But it differentiates you. Those that have tattoos and those that don't. But then within our own circles, right, there's the people who have the type of tattoos that you have and the people that don't.
Yeah.
Maybe you're into like old school traditional type of stuff. You know, maybe you're not. You know, there's so it's very nuanced, and there's a lot of subtlety to it. But it's again, there's a, you know, we're emulating others, but also we're distancing ourselves in certain respects. We know this to be true, I believe, but it is also it's so interesting when we hear it sort of, you know, described in other words, if you like, right? And somebody else's, almost a different language than we, you know, than say, you know,
Yeah,
and we
almost,
speak.
yeah.
It's almost like another language, but it's like there's certain way. It's like, yes, that there's something about it that rings true. And then maybe there's parts you disagree with. I think that's totally you know, valid, right? That not all of this is going to be exactly always the case, but
yeah, but she has a very interesting, you know, perspective too, because if her clients have tattoos, that she really gets to psychoanalyze them and then, you know, kind of form an analysis on what everybody's saying. You know, I mean, she's just as much as a part of the process as us, the creators, are. I mean, we don't do tattoos for us. You know what I'm saying? We do tattoos for that psychoanalyst. You know what I'm saying? We do tattoos for everybody else's pleasure. So, you know, her opinion, I think, is just as valid.
It's quite fascinating. I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think she kind of touched on a subject that I think she should have probably given more attention to. And I realize they're talking a lot about the subconscious reasons for tattoos.
Yeah.
Even consciously, some people get tattoos to bring about change. You know, to affect them mentally and emotionally and subconsciously, to bring about a change in perspective or a change in thinking or an end to an era and the beginning of a new life.
Yeah.
The Phoenix tattoo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I do a lot of sigil and rune and other magical tattoos that, you know, I put together with my client to literally affect the change that they want.
And that shit works.
Yes, it does.
Like whatever type of magic that stuff works.
Mechanical spell casting is very powerful, especially when the symbology is nailed on in the right location on the body.
Yeah.
Let me read one quick thing. You know, we jumped over it, but I think this may like sort of like point right at what you were saying, Amber. And so, you know, so just the, you know, that quote just above, Carologian says that tattooing is an attempt to demarcate and anchor a position in the relationship to reach a place where mutual differences and commonalities may exist simultaneously. Like the need for indigenous peoples to identify with a totem representing a protective parental figure or divine power, the contemporary desire to seek refuge and protection under the aegis of a parental figure endures as the motivation for having oneself tattooed. Thus, the practice of tattooing in Western culture is not far removed from its practice as it exists in other cultures. So we know, like what you're saying, that tattooing has been associated with, you know, with rites of passage, with magical protection, that's what she's saying also. And just like Amber, you're saying also that there is a
Fantastic.
relationship to that in what we do now. That
Yes.
it actually is that it's the same thing. You know, it's not far removed from this practice of, like, you know, it signifies a, you know, almost a coming of age, because it's, you know, it's like an initiation in certain respects. It's a rite of passage. It's painful. You have to go through that barrier, and then you have this thing. And then additionally, you know, it can make you feel powerful at times. You know, it really can. And then of course it can do the exact opposite. Ben Shaw, who's you know, who's like a board member of the APT, he did a very interesting and important dive into this, you know, into human trafficking and the way that tattoos are used within that like domain.
Mhm.
People are sort of marked as property and so on and so forth, because of the power of the tattoo, right? So again, like you're saying, it has to be, you know, there's a real spirit in which it is applied that determines its affect on
Yeah.
us and everybody else.
I absolutely agree. The it like the Japanese culture and how at certain points it would be a criminal act to be tattooed, or if you were a criminal, you got a tattoo by your government as punishment, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. And it's you know, in that way, it's this thing we do every day. And it can be easy to forget. But there's a lot of responsibility we have.
Mhm.
Do you guys refuse to do racist and hate tattoos? Because I refuse to do them.
I will not do them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I won't do it
Yeah,
either.
I'm not doing them either.
Yeah, see, that's my opinion. I've had people ask, and I've had a lot of people, minors ask for tattoos, and then unless it's a really, really, really nice face tattoo, I just can't bring myself to do it.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
I
I've
mean, those,
tattooed one Confederate flag in my day. That was when I was kind of a young tattooer, and I was still, you know, believing in the whole. I'm just, you know, I'm just a servant of the people. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was the
Mhm.
last time I did that. That was the last time I did that. I've definitely had some requests. I was like, nah, I'm good.
I will cover them.
Yeah, I'll cover them. Yeah,
On
definitely.
cover ups.
I cover up hate tattoos for free.
Mhm.
Yep, I always offer.
Yeah.
I think this is a related topic, and that you know, and I won't lie, like I actually, as I was going through this, this like occurred to me, like, what are the ethics of what it is that we're doing? And it is sort of interesting. It's like, what if you were asked, you know, to do, you know, if we classify something hate tattoo? No way. You know what I mean? That's easy. But what if it, like, what is it? What if it's a tattoo that has to do with a political ideology that you don't agree with? You know what I
Oh,
mean?
okay, all
There,
right.
there
I'm
might
gonna
be.
break your show. Are you ready?
Yeah, this is a safe space.
All
Somewhat. It's the
right.
internet, though. By the way, you are on the internet.
Right. The history of the
People to do.
swastika is originally Sumerian, and depending on which way the forks turned, meant on which form of energy that it would create, because it's a symbol of the galaxy. So it's either in positive rotation or negative rotation, which creates energy. Now, there was I don't know, some psychopath. His name was, I think, Adolf. Well, he figured this out, and then he used that symbol as part of his people's wardrobe to benefit them, which they were doing horrific things. And so now this very magnificent symbol that represents the flow of solar systems and the galaxy and and all of that now can't be used or put anywhere.
The original case of cultural appropriation.
Yes.
Mhm.
So yeah,
I
that's
thought that
kind
was
of
a Buddhist
interesting.
symbol.
Which one?
I thought it was a Buddhist symbol.
It's tied in Buddhism too.
Okay.
I am of the belief that there was a huge disaster about 13,000 years ago, and kind of we did a wee bit of a reset, and we used to be a little more, we were technologically advanced enough that we communicated with everybody. And I believe the symbology is more sacred geometry, and it was universal versus just Sumerian. The oldest one I could find was through Sumerian culture, because that dates back to 350,000 years on the Kingstone.
It's true.
Zachariah Sitchin, his father found that, yada, yada, yada. Anyway,
Nice.
sorry. Nerd.
Oh, don't apologize. That's fascinating, and that's exactly the, it's a like if someone was very devout in their Buddhist practice and they really needed that, they really needed the swastika in the way that that means in the direction where it means positivity, and it means it's almost like, yeah, well, that's kind of that's a religious iconography, but of course it's like it could be the religion of
It pops up in Inca and Mayan culture as well.
certainly.
It's all over the place.
Well, is like in teaching people how to do like design work, tessellations, and certain sort of repeating patterns and stuff, it will pop up. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, I didn't intend it. If you kind of repeat something 4 times, you can have this, it's like this this subconscious swastika thing pops up. So you have to you have to be on a watch out for it. But anyway, there's a certain way when it's very direct, it's very it's like it's meant to be again, to sort of symbolize the German fascism from the 30s and stuff, and it's terrible. Right. But again, there's a certain, whatever your political leanings are, you may sort of find that you're tasked to do something that like you don't agree with. Where's the line there? You know what I mean? Like, where is the edge? And I think that's a conversation for another day. But I think that I'm so grateful that all of you showed up and talked about this very challenging subject. I know that it's interesting because it's like it's not exactly art, but it's like we're like right on the edge. You know what I mean, about art. And so I do think that there's a value to it. And so if you're still watching us at this point, you better like and subscribe so you can get more of this, because we do this stuff all the time.
It's the good stuff.
Yeah.
We get like into the weeds all the time, right? We're always talking about things that are whatever interests us. And I do like to kind of let it, I like to hear what you all have to say about these things, because it gives me more insight into what I think about stuff. Just being honest, because sometimes it's so challenging to even know what it is that we're up to. But having your community of people that you can sort of turn to and bounce ideas off, get their sort of reactions to things, that I think is that's magic. That's valuable. So thank you all so much for doing this. Why don't we
yeah, thanks for having us.
of course. No, it's my pleasure as always. And I'm, so I'm grateful. I'm grateful to you for coming. I'm grateful for this opportunity to talk about these things. If we could,
I have a question
Yeah.
before we go. I've really been searching for some novels about artists, like just like books about just artists living their lives, and maybe because was one book I read. It was so good. It's called Oil and Marble, and it's about the contemporaries between. It's about Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, and it's fiction, but it's historical fiction. And oh my god, it was just so good. And I'm just like, why aren't there more books like this? I don't know do you guys know of any?
I do know of so another book about Michelangelo. It's called The Agony and the Ecstasy.
Ooh.
Ever heard of this book?
I heard of it. Sounds familiar, but I'm not right there.
Well, it's the story of Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel. And so, Michelangelo was a sculptor. That's how he's like, I'm a sculptor. That's what I do. He sculpted the David and all this, But the Pope was interesting because at that time, the Pope was actually more of a dictator. He was like the, the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. You know what I'm saying? So it was very much a general, commanded legions of, soldiers and stuff, and they were conquesting. Right. So, he told Michelangelo, "You're going to paint the ceiling of my chapel." And so it's an amazing story. It's a very long book. It's a very, very long book. The only other thing that I could potentially recommend.
33 hours. Good God. Yeah,
there's a movie too. Yeah, it's.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, there is a movie. I forget who plays Michelangelo. It might be like Charlton Heston or something like that. But the only other book that I could sort of recommend that's very interesting, it's more of a history. It's called The Power of Art. It's by historian Simon Schama. So it goes through the lives of artists. There are a few artists that he talks about, and so he talks about Caravaggio. I believe he talks about he may talk about Bernini as well. I know that he talks about Jacques-Louis David. If you've ever heard of this person, the very famous portrait of Napoleon rearing up on the horse, you've probably seen that one. It's French neoclassical style.
Neoclassicism.
Right. So this is from the era of the French Revolution. Fascinating time. And so to hear this story, not only about like this person, but how he, as an artist, navigated this particular moment in history, it's very fascinating. He talks about Vincent van Gogh, very everybody's fascinated with Van Gogh, of course. It's such a tragic story. We love his work now. His life was terrible. It's like, this is a terrible life, but I
didn't know that he shot himself. I didn't know, I didn't know that he could pretty much committed suicide. Like, what the fuck? Like, I just knew he cut his ear off and gave it to that girl, you know what I'm saying? But
yep. There's a go ahead, Amber. What were you saying?
That girl was his cousin.
That's right.
Oh God. Sorry.
There's a theory that it was actually there was these group or two boys or something like that, you know, that it was actually, they were playing with a gun and they shot Van Gogh in the stomach, because it was in the stomach. He got shot. Wasn't it himself? But the theory is that these young boys actually shot him sort of accidentally.
Oh shit.
And that he just decided that he wasn't going to ruin their lives. He was a good guy, Van Gogh. He was like, oh, I did it. You know what I mean? You know, it's like, it took him days to die. Terrible, painful suffering. Like you couldn't imagine. Just couldn't imagine. And we'll never know.
That sounds like some bullshit. That sounds like,
we'll never know.
No, he probably did it.
He could have. He could have done it. But I mean, like, why would you shoot yourself in the stomach? I don't know. It's, you know, again, it's not clear.
Yeah, that's true. It's a pretty painful way to go.
I couldn't imagine it. It's terrible. And the other person that is in this book is Mark Rothko.
Ooh.
Does anybody like Rothko in here?
Yeah.
So
I discovered Rothko when I was doing, I was like, what the fuck is this? What is it? It's the color field art.
Yep. Exactly. It was like fascinating story about his life. Anyway, so you're looking for books about that. I definitely want to recommend that. I want to say what's up to Hector Salazar Tattoos. If you're still with us, thanks for being in the chat. Hector says, I have seen clients bounce back from serious depressions through tattoo sessions. Good talk, y'all. Thank you, Hector, so much. I'm so glad that you also related to our conversation. I think that means the world.
Absolutely.
Really does. It means so much.
Thanks, Hector.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Well, I definitely want to sort of like, we should wrap it up for the day. It's time to get to work, everybody. We got work to do. And we got drawings to make. Because again, we have our work, and that's the suffering that we really desire, right? is our work. It's the real that's the real thing. So anyway, I definitely want to again express my gratitude for everybody. Thank you, chat. It was great to hear from everybody in the chat. Good morning to Gabe Ripley. So glad you could be here.
Hey, Gabe.
Good morning, Gabe. Thanks for everything.
Gabe, I'm going to see you later this week at the High Lifestyle Show. Can't wait for that. That's in Massachusetts. So if you're close to Massachusetts, you should come. It'd be awesome. But yeah, everybody, we could do some quick sign-offs, and then we'll wrap it up. Creature, say what's up to the internet for us.
Howdy, y'all. Thanks for inviting me today. It's been fantastic. This is one of the best shows I come into. I always look forward to every single topic that's reviewed. I learn things every week. Tune in to this show. I recommend it. Creatures Cave. There's a few of us hanging out here, so we're all watching. And thanks again. Nice to see everybody. Amber, Spirit, Jason, I see you in the comments. So, Mr. Wisdom, have a lovely week, and I'll see you next week, sir.
Thank you so much, Creature. It was a pleasure getting to hear your your insights into this too. Thanks for the book recommendations and all that. So feel free to jump in anytime. Spirit, let's have you. You're next on my feed here.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Spirit. You can find me at tattoosbyspirit.com, Tattoos by Spirit on Instagram, and Tattoos by Spirit on TikTok. And I appreciate you, James, for having this class every Monday. I get a lot out of it. I just very much enjoy joining you very beautiful people, and getting to talk art. And question. Hey, James, do you ever want to give any like art history homework?
Sure. No, I think that'd be wonderful. I mean,
Uh-oh.
So like here was something that I always found fascinating. I used to work for a guy, he was very like old school dude, and he was into a couple people, but so two of the artists that he really was interested in, Sailor Jerry and Stony Sinclair. So I would say check out these two. You know what I mean? If you want to do some diving in, I would love to. You know, like if you like looked into them a little bit, we could always chit chat about tattooers, and then of course we could do some other. You know, we could always keep it going.
Gosh,
What's that, Amber? Say that one more time.
love Sailor Jerry flash art. I just love it.
It's a fascinating story, and I think one of the things that I thought was so interesting was, like, if you read Sailor Jerry's book, there's a lot of overt racism in the way the way he behaves, the way he talks about people. But then he actually, like, he is the one who connected Western tattooing with Japanese tattooing specifically.
Yeah, he evolved.
I think so, in a certain respect. I mean, he was in World War II, you know what I mean? And so, and it was a different generation, it was a different time, not making excuses, but that it does add context. But he did this connection. He made this connection to, you know, the sort of the beginnings of, at least in the tattoo world, there's always been colonizers from the West who have like exploited tattoos and, like, you know, sort of like use them as this, I don't know, this curiosity. But Sailor Jerry seemed to, you know, he had this deep abiding respect. And so there was his apprentice, Mike Malone, you know, had a tattoo shop in Chicago, Taylor Street Tattoo, still there, still like making incredible old school tattoos. So, you know, there's this lineage, right, that we have. It still exists and stuff. So anyway, yeah. How does that sound for like some research project for you?
That's cool.
Awesome.
If you're looking him up, his friend Shanghai Kate, you know, the model for all of the old school Sailor Jerry, you know, the hula girl. That's Shanghai Kate. Well, unbeknownst to me at the time, I got to meet her in 2022 at Hell City.
Not.
I didn't know that was her. And I spent, I don't know, about 10, 15 minutes chatting with her. She asked me a million questions. She was an absolutely amazing woman. And then she had passed away not too long ago. Last year, I believe.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know that was her until somebody said she had passed away, and they had posted it on, I don't know which one of the Reinventing reviews it was. Maybe it was the Tattoo Weekly show, but they pulled her picture up, and I was like, wait a minute. I know her. I remember face as well. So I'm like, what? I didn't even get her autograph. Anyway, but there's more.
Well,
sorry.
Yeah, no, that was great. And Shanghai Kate was interviewed by Reinventing's own Kyle Bernstein. So there's that was you know, I do remember that, and I do remember her passing. And you know, it is I think it's wonderful that, again, you know, there's been some documentation that's been, you know, it's been compiled here on Reinventing. And so in the future, this is going to be an archive of tattoo history itself too, also. And I think that's also very cool. You know, we're a part of that. Andre Malcolm Studio with the sophisticated emoji. Thank you so much for tuning in, Andre Malcolm. That's awesome. Amber, let's get your sign-offs. Thank you so much for coming. It's been so great to see you again, and I'm so glad you're doing good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And today's topic was awesome. I enjoyed this discussion so much.
Well, I'm so glad that I was inspired talk about this, because I know this is something that you're so interested in, and I knew that we were gonna, I wanted to have this conversation with everybody, but especially with you. So I'm really grateful that you came and that you gave us so much of your spirit today into this topic. So tell us where we can find you and how we can get a hold of you.
On all social media sites under Amber Morgan.
That's excellent. Well, again, I also appreciate you sharing your journey with us and talking about how your next steps potentially, as far as what it is you're going to be getting into. So I can't wait to see what happens next. And then someone's going to write your book, right? The book about your art journey. You know what I mean? I think that's going to be
Somebody else is going to write it because I don't have time.
right. That's what we all need. We need somebody to write to write about us, right? Because we're too busy doing it.
Yeah.
We're too busy doing this thing. So, but anyway, thank you all again so much. I'm James Wisdom. This has been Drawing for Tattooers. If you are still here, like and subscribe. Again, thank you again for everybody for coming. Happy drawing, and we'll see you next stream.